Alright, so yesterday's questions for Monday, I know I wasn't here, but what was yesterday's question?
What connection was called that is used to make boom for the back end of the blade on bandsaw and cutting could?
Okay, so we have, here's our leg right here, we'll say, we have our profile, so, or our dimension, so we have to come in, I believe it, again, it's 3.5 inches down, I think it's 1.5 inches. So here I have my overall outline, right? I want to do some sort of curve, making sure that it's symmetric. What I want to do is, again, my initial cuts, I want to make sure that I have relief cuts. Okay, so that's what 24 was relief cuts, so that when I come around here with the blade, I have room for the back end. So like on this one, the blade would most likely be fine. These would start to pop out. Most tendency is that you guys would probably have some trouble right around this first one. So that's why you want to make sure when you're actually coming back in. What will happen is you guys will want a tendency to kind of go like this off of the end. Okay, so before that happens, what you guys need to do is stop, back out, readjust your cut, and go from there. Then what you want to do is, like I said, as you come closer around, you want to stay. How far away from the line do you want to stay? Not quite a quarter.
3 inches.
You want to stand on 3 inches worth of material? So about 1/8 or 1/16. So again, you want to stay to the scrap side of the material, so that when you use the spindle or the disc sander, you can end up sanding that off. So you want to sand to the line. You want to make sure that there's still a line there. So that's going to be that. Today's question was what? Or what was it dealing with? Yeah, I hope so. More specific, like what? Okay, so someone show what the question was. What was it? Well, what was the answer?
3 boards.
Okay.
You have a squared board plane filed with this and best edge joint that is 6 1/8 wide. How many 2-inch wide boards would I be able to rip out of that board? How much material would I have left?
Okay, so I have a 6 1/8 inch board. I've dealt with thickness. I've got my best edge jointed. Now what I want to deal with is width, right? So on this board, it's asking how many boards can I rip out of here that's how much? 2 inches? 2 inches wide. So basically, it's asking how many 2-inch wide boards I can have. How many did you guys say that you could have? 3. 3. Why is that? 6 divided by 2. What saw do we use to cut this saw? Table saw. Okay, you guys can put all your phones and stuff away now. We're done. Not the bandsaw, right? Because the bandsaw is used for curved cuts. What do we want to use to make sure that we have the table saw, right? Because if I have this is the best edge, I made sure that that's straight. Now I want to make that other edge parallel. And what we do is with the table saw. Okay? But how thick is that blade?
1/8 is
About 1/8 of an inch. So if I set my blade up or my fence up to 2 inches, right? So that's 2 inches, but I still have to account for the material that the blade actually takes out. Okay, so that's 2 1/8, right? So what I'm doing is I'm taking off 2 1/8 of an inch, right? I'm keeping the 2, but what happens to this 1/8 of an inch that the blade runs through?
turns to dust.
Yeah, it goes into sawdust, so you can't get that back. Now what I need to do is now I go another 2 1/8, right? So I have 2 inches, make my second cut. I end up having 2 1/8. How much board have I used already?
4
4 1/4, right? So from here to here, I've used 4 1/4. Do I have enough to get second? No, right? So I'm an 1/8 inch short. So I'm only able to, the answer is going to be 2 boards. Okay? And if I have 6 1/8, and I minus 4 1/4, right? This turns into 5. I have there's 8/8 in an inch, right? If we're dealing with eighths, this turns into 9. Okay. Whoop, I have to go convert this as well. So this is the same as 2/8. Convert that. 9 minus 2 is 7. Go over to right. So I have 7/8. So I'm an 1/8 inch too narrow. So I'm only able to get 2 boards. I'm going to have a remainder of 1/7/8 of an inch. Okay? That's a big mistake that ends up happening. A lot of times there'll be people too, like they'll take a board and they'll take this here and say it's, I don't know, for easy math, I'll just say that it's 10 feet long. They want boards that are all 1 foot long. So it's like, oh, I should be able to get 10 from here. They'll take their tape measure out 1 foot here. This will be exactly on 2 foot. This will be exactly on 3, 4, so on and so forth, all the way to 10. What ends up happening though is that they're not taking into account the thickness of the blade. So what actually ends up happening is this board is a true 1 foot board. This one, it's not a foot long, it's 11 7/8. Okay, so we've already gotten that. So basically what you're doing is every time you make this cut, you're getting an 1/8 inch short. So when at the end, I find out that I'm only able to get 9 boards, not the 10 that I wanted, but each board itself is going to be getting an 1/8 inch smaller each time. Okay? So, the main point here is just make sure you guys are taking into account the thickness of the blade. Alright, what I want to go through today is review of spindle and disc sander. So you guys will be having a quiz tomorrow on the bandsaw and the spindle and disc sander. Sure, once I get this turned on. Do you get the light speaker? Okay, so guys, here's what I've done is I've created Monday's link. So, guys, quiet. On here you'll find all the needed information for the bandsaw. Basically, I watched the correct video, went through the important information, and that's also on YouTube. I'll adjust it. So if you look on Edmodo, it's on there as well. So that's tomorrow what we're doing. Guys, quiet. Tomorrow we're having the bandsaw and the belt discs and spindle sander quiz. Okay, so the safety quiz, we're all doing those tomorrow instead of spreading them out like the plan was. But today what we'll do is I'll go through the review. And then Friday we have a unit quiz. So basically Friday what we have is everything going back to the beginning of the day. So multi-view, calculating board feet, steps for squaring, a board, why we use the machines that we do, and then also, what was the other thing? Safety. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull general questions off of those safety quizzes. Those will be used on the actual test itself, and then we'll go from there. So big thing here, Friday, there's the Unit 1 test. What I wanted to show, okay. So again, we have our belt and disc sander. We have our disc here, the belt here, okay. Disc turns counterclockwise. You sand on the left-hand side, okay. You don't sand on the edge, meaning that like the very edge here. You use the face of it. So you use the face of the disc, the face of the belt. And again, sanding is only used for making something smooth, putting fine scratches in. Again, pine, yes, it is a soft material, but it's not, we're not gonna be there, and you can actually see that we're not using the sanders to actually take off material. Again, that's why when you use the bandsaw, you wanna take it to an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch, okay? When you use the discs, or the belt sander, be sure to stand on the side opposite of the disc. And what you'll do is make sure that you move it back and forth using the whole face. Okay? There's not really any parts of us, you know, you have your tables, there's no real fence here. But you'll have your disc, your belt, on-off switch. And simple questions. Any questions on the belt and disc sander? Okay? Alright, so the spindle sander, there'll be a question asked. Disc sander is for the outside of curves. Spindle sander is then for the inside of curves. Okay, good. So, and one of the things you want to have the radius or the diameter match as closely as possible, as far away as possible. As close, right? So you saw here that this one, that spindle itself would be perfect for this arch right here. That larger one that I had before, I would want to use for this larger arch here. So you want to try and match the radius of the spindle to the radius of the arch. Again, making sure that you're keeping it on the table, no freehand. So that's a big thing. Make sure you're not freehanding, and what that means is actually lifting it above the table. What will end up happening on that disc, the disc sander itself, if you kind of imagine this. This is the disc sander here spinning, this red disc, and you're freehanding up here. It'll act, and if you're not holding on tight enough, it'll actually take it and slap it down into the table. Okay, so you always want to make sure that you're having it resting on the table. Also, it gives you a better result. So you're taking out the variables of which way your board can turn. Okay, so you want to make sure it's smooth, making sure that edge is 90 degrees to the face. So the radius of the spindle that closely matches the radius of the arch on your pattern. You have your spindle, you have your like throw plate here, your guard, or not your guard, your table on-off switch. Let's see, let me just double check, make sure I get, your grading rubric. What I have is next Wednesday, okay, so next Wednesday you need to have your legs done. So that means sanded, design cut, rabbets cut, miters cut, everything like that. What you're going to have here is you should have this in your binder, your grading rubric itself, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to grade the long legs and the short legs. So you need to have all 4 done by next Wednesday. Okay? So we can keep moving. Like I said, grade your own. Have someone else grade it, then I'll grade it as well. Okay? The reason why we're doing that is so that it's not just, yeah, whatever, I'll take what I got. Okay? It's kind of giving you to look at, I guess not saying necessarily competitive, but looking at, did I, instead of just it's good enough for me, you're gonna do it. Like I'm saying, take pride in your work. Right? You guys are eventually gonna be taking these home. Do you want something that someone looks at and goes, oh, you made that? That's nice. Right? Or do you want something that goes, okay, there's a couple mistakes, but overall, I mean, it's really nice. Okay? So, nothing's gonna be perfect. Even if you look up on that example, I've made like 3 or 4 of these, there's still little parts that I've gotten mixed up on. So, like I said, take pride in your work, take time on it. There's always something that you can do. So, at this point now, guys, you can either there's a couple things you can either be working on your rabbets, your miters, sanding, laying out your design, okay? Or go ahead and grading the width and the thickness, okay? Because you guys shouldn't be dealing with width anymore. Or if you do, grade those the same. Grab a board, Alright, so if you look at your long leg, does it meet the requirements right up here? So again, you have your plus or minus. What does the plus or minus mean again? Give or take, right? So if I called for the width of the legs to be 3 inches, if you're 3 1/16, okay, well then you get a 4. If you're 2 15/16, you still get a 4. Then it's plus or minus 1/8 of an inch. Okay? So that's what the grading rubric. Every 16th that you're inch, 16th of an inch that you're off or over, okay, that's a point deduction. Any questions on this? Alright, go ahead. Someone grab the lights.
You did, man.